The media spent an awful lot of time today in Delaware waiting for a plane full of illegal immigrants that never came. Ron DeSantis threatened to send migrants there after causing a media frenzy by sending them to Martha's Vineyard. Yeah, the cameras all waited and nothing happened. The press is very focused on these migrant flights up north, but the fact is these planes full of people are literally statistically insignificant compared to the kinds of numbers Texas and Arizona are dealing with. You told you yesterday another 200,000 illegal immigrants crossed the southern border so far last month. This is the month of August. Since last October, 2.15 million that we know of. That's not counting the 750,000 others who got away from authorities. They're now roaming freely in the country, as are about 1 million of the 2 million that came over and Border Patrol captured. Robert Sherman is on the ground in Eagle Pass, Texas, with more about exactly who is coming across the border. Robert, are we to believe that some of them are right behind you?
You would be correct, Leland. There actually are a few migrants who were just picked up right behind us here, which just goes to show how constant this issue is down here on the border. That hasn't changed in months. But what has changed is who is coming here and where exactly they're coming from. And you look at some of these numbers here. Mexico still remains the #1 country of origin that we're seeing. I mean, you see that it's been a bit of an increase since this time last year, but actually in the past couple of months down a bit. Look at Cuba, though. Now the #2 country of origin. Huge increase compared to this time last year. Guatemala, Honduras, they've seen decreases there. That's because we've seen more of those migrants expelled under Title 42. But Nicaragua, Venezuela, and look at Colombia. Huge increases in migrants that we've seen coming to the border. Part of that, for those three countries, is that there's been a precedent that those migrants who come here will be permitted to stay. Leland, this year we've seen over 160 countries represented down here on the border. But the scary number to share with you, since October, 78 people on the FBI terrorist watch list. You look at the previous 5 years, there were only 26. Leland?
Well, 78 that we know of. We don't know how many were in the gotaways list. Right. We don't know how many weren't even encountered or even observed by Customs and Border Protection. I'm interested, I wrote this down in terms of the countries that you highlighted. Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Cuba, all communist countries. That have anything to do with so many more coming?
It absolutely does. A big part of the reason is that the U.S. has strained relationships with those countries. Makes it a lot harder to expel someone under Title 42 to a country that they really don't interact with. Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua is an example. There are other countries that there are difficulties, like China and India, Africa, logistical issues. But here in our hemisphere, those three have proven to be the most challenging.
All right, Robert Sherman on the border tonight. Robert, thank you very much. With us now, immigration law attorney Elizabeth Ricci. Elizabeth, thank you. We appreciate it. This number just struck me from Robert's reporting. 78 on the terror watch list that we know of. You have to assume within the groups of gotaways there were a lot more than that. And yet all we do, at least in the past week, has been spending talking about 48 that were flown from Texas to Martha's Vineyard. On a day in September when the weather was good. Are we worried about the right thing?
You know, I don't think so, but thank you for having me. And this is a very important topic I'm glad to have the opportunity to talk to you about. We're not talking about the right things. Why are people coming here, right? There's problems south of the border. And by sending people on planes to Martha's Vineyard, we're not solving anything and certainly not alleviating those numbers. So what are we going to do about it? If Ron DeSantis wants to make a statement, wouldn't it be better for him to ask our senators, Rubio and Scott, to pass a comprehensive immigration reform?
Ma'am, in fairness to the governors of Florida and certainly Governor Abbott in Texas and Doug Ducey in Arizona, they were ringing the alarm bells for the past 2 years about this issue, and nobody would talk about it. I remember being down on the border last September. There was not a single reporter. You think about El Paso, Texas, where thousands are being released. CNN, not one reporter for weeks or months, and yet in Martha's Vineyard, they had somebody following these 48 folks every move. What else were these governors supposed to do?
Well, you and I both know it's a publicity stunt.
Of course.
If we want to bring attention to the issue, let's deal with what the real issues are. These 48 people from Venezuela and Colombia are not the issue. The issue is that our immigration system needs repairing, and we need to change the laws that we have.
Yeah, I've been hearing about comprehensive immigration reform, I think, since I was in high school. I wrote a paper on it, and that was quite a few years ago. I won't make you guess how long ago. This also struck me, and I'm trying to figure out how this is fair. As an immigration attorney, maybe you can explain this to me. 48 sent to Martha's Vineyard, enormous outcry and huge outrage. There's now lawsuits about it. There's a sheriff's investigation. Yet just today, 61 Cubans who got in a boat in Cuba, sailed with everything they owned, which wasn't much, to the United States, risked their lives in ways we can't really imagine to try to get here. And the U.S. Coast Guard sent them back because of the Biden administration's policy. How is that fair that if you come across the border in Mexico, you get in, if you're a Cuban, as Robert reported, but you get sent back if you take a boat?
Well, I don't think that that's a fair analogy, and I don't imagine that Governor DeSantis would be putting any Cubans on any planes anywhere if they had made it to Florida. So,
well, no, Governor DeSantis didn't send
them.
No, Governor DeSantis didn't send them back. The Biden administration did.
No, but my point is, this was a political move. These were Venezuelans and Colombians. If there were Cubans on those planes, Ron DeSantis never would have gotten involved.
Oh, okay. I'm moving on from the Martha's Vineyard story. I'm still just trying to get to the numbers of people and the fundamental fairness of this. Either way, how is it that Cubans who come across the border with Texas get to stay in the United States, as Robert reported, and then the Cubans that come in a boat and just try to make it to America get sent back by the Coast Guard?
So that's not a Biden policy. That is a law that's been in existence for many years. And there's a difference when someone is able to arrive in the United States and they land on physical land as versus still being in the water. So that's not a Biden issue. That's been on the books for many, many years.
Okay, fair enough. Although you have to wonder whether he could change it in terms of the pandemic, but who knows? Okay.
The president has executive authority over immigration, but as I said before, we need Congress to act.
Okay, so no, look, we all agree Congress should act. They just never will because it's much more useful as a political point. I get back to this. So here, Charlemagne the God, not exactly known to be a particularly conservative individual, only had one problem with what Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott are doing. Take a listen.
But I wish that governors like Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott would give Democratic governors and mayors more of a heads up, because then that would expose the hypocrisy of the Democrats, which is they don't want immigrants here either.
You got a point?
I think the hypocrisy here is that Ron DeSantis got involved at all to begin with. Those planes were not headed to Florida. He intervened. And the irony is that now that he did so, he could be responsible for having trafficked or kidnapped them because
come on, really?
Absolutely. Yes, Leland, really. If you'll hear me out, they were lured onto those planes. They were told, and Ron DeSantis said this in a press conference, that they would have better lives and jobs waiting for them. Well, the truth is nothing was lined up for them. That was a lie. And I'm
going to give you the last word. Just let me get the 30-second. Let me just get this in. I'll give you the last word. That all came from a flyer that's provided by the state of Massachusetts. He showed them the flyer.
Ron DeSantis said that they signed a waiver. I've seen the waiver, by the way. It's a waiver of liability if somebody trips on a suitcase in the aisle in the airplane. It has nothing to do with holding Greg Abbott or Ron DeSantis responsible for having trafficked them. And the irony here is that these individuals were in a process. They had a court case under international law. They're allowed to ask for asylum. And now, if law enforcement in Massachusetts signs off that they were victims of crime, which looks likely because they're actually interested in pursuing criminal charges against Governor DeSantis, that if that were to go through, they could get U visas, legalize, and eventually become citizens as a result of these flights.
The law of unintended consequences. Just in the past couple of minutes, we just heard it appears as though the plane that reporters have been chasing with this next load is evidently empty. It flew all over the country, landed in Teterboro with only the crew on board. So we're trying to get a little bit more on that. It was good to see you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, for sure. We'll have you back before there's comprehensive immigration reform.
Anytime in the next 10 years, that'll probably be.
For sure. Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.